All right, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. It is number 728 today on this December 19th, a Tuesday. The show is a day late. Sorry, my friends. Been traveling like crazy, and I was just absolutely spent last night after coming home from San Francisco. One-nighter up there at the chapel. Thank you, everybody that came out to the show. You battled the chilly weather and the rain, and you made it down. I really appreciate it. I will be headlining tomorrow night at the Irvine Improv in Orange County. Tickets available at deandelray.com, and there are still tickets available for the Bon Scott tribute January 9th in Hollywood, California at the Avalon. All the VIP tickets are sold out. And there's about 130 tickets left for the Bon Scott general admission. That's Bill Burr and I doing about 45 minutes of stand-up comedy, and then a little break, and then we'll come out and do a full tribute to Bon Scott with people like Scott Ian, Mike Inez, Steve Gorman, Dave Lombardo, who else? Scott Holiday, Josh Z, Billy Rowe, Lur from Primus, a bunch of other, Josh Freeze from Every Band Ever. Anyway, do not miss this. Get your tickets right away. I don't want to hear like, oh man, it's sold out. It's going to sell out. So why wouldn't you get your ticket now instead of waiting? All right. That's a little bit of the promo there. Big shout out to the new Patreoners, also patreon.com/DeanDelRay. There will be a bonus episode this week. I've been pumping out some bonus episodes, and I really appreciate everybody that has joined the Patreon. This week I'll be talking about my trip to see Queens of the Stone Age, San Francisco, and what else am I going to be talking about? Some other good stuff. Tune in there. Tim Porter, thank you for becoming a Patreoner. D, just the letter D, is a Patreoner now. Kelsey Olson is a Patreoner. And Steph McKee is a Patreoner. Thank you so much. And, who's the guest today, Dean? Well, let me get to it. Here it is. Greg DeLuis is my guest today, and he is a custom guitar builder that will absolutely blow your mind. And this is kind of a collaboration today of Let There Be Talk and The Grail. If you have not heard my podcast, The Grail, tune in. There are tons of episodes of people that make stuff by hand, working outside the box, whether it be guitars, motorcycles, denim, boots, whatever. So I'm doing a little cross-pollination today, my friends. Yeah, that's some Diamond Dave there. Well, we got a little cross-pollination. All right. Anyway, Greg DeLuis is here today. I stumbled on him in the Instagram world. I saw this custom-made Tiger-looking guitar that... the Jerry Garcia guitar, Tiger. Jerry had Tiger, Wolf, and Rosebud, and multiple cool guitars. But mostly towards the end, he played this guitar, Tiger, that was built by Doug Irwin. And the Olympic fame up there, NorCal, all of that. Handmade hippie guitars. That's what I call them. They're the hippie guitars, and they really are. And they're absolutely mind-boggling. And my man Greg is carrying on the tradition. Handmade guitars, everything handmade. Hand-cut inlay, everything, man. It is just spectacular, this guy's work. He is a big fan of Fish and Goose and the Dead, and he knows what he's doing. He even built a Randy Rhoads polka dot Sandoval kind of tribute guitar that blows my mind. Go to his Instagram so you can look at it while you're listening to the episode. It is DELUIS Guitars. DeLuis Guitars. He's out here in Southern California, and man, what a great conversation I had with him. Thank you so much for doing the show, my man. And it's a deep dive into custom-made guitars and music and, of course, the Dead. All right, I love you guys. Thank you for your patience. Sorry it's a day late, but oh, man, I just had an insane weekend, and I did a bunch of shows. Then I flew to San Fran. I saw Queens of the Stone Age. I'll talk all about it on the Patreon bonus episode, but right now, let's get into it. A little guitar talk with Greg DeLuis of DeLuis Guitars. Candles are lit. All right, here we are, another episode of Let to Be Talk. Introduce yourself, my man.
How you doing? I'm just Greg DeLuis, owner and operator, DeLuis Guitars.
Oh man, it's you just walked in my house and you opened up a guitar that just fucking floored me. I first really kind of come across you on Instagram, which is where I find all the artisans and makers and the people that are still doing cool shit. And I come across a pink Tiger. Tiger meaning the guitar that Jerry Garcia played that Doug Irwin built. It was a pink one, and I was like, this is amazing because John Mayer is a friend of mine, and he had sent me
I love John.
The Paul Reed Smith, his signature model in pink. So I sent it over to him, and I said, look at this. This is pretty fucking cool.
That. I love to hear that.
Yeah, and we were both like, wow, that is cool. And it immediately, I jumped into your Instagram and was floored by the craftsmanship. There's a lot of people over the years that have done, Jerry spin-offs. There was a company a couple years ago during COVID that were making these cheap Korean ones or whatever. But I grew up in the Bay Area. I grew up around Olympic guitars, Mesa Boogie, amplifiers, Randall Smith, all of those guys. So I know this stuff inside and out, but I've never met any of the guys. And there was only a key few people that were playing them. It was like the Dead, and here and there you got like Santana. Then Jason Newsted was playing.
Dickie had one, but I didn't.
Right, Dickie. I saw that shot of him at the Cow Palace. Backstage, there was him and Greg Allman are there looking at it. It's half
Big
built.
scroll. It was cool.
Yeah, but it's amazing to see with the Dead & Co. success and of course Fish and Goose and all these bands out there that these guitars are getting a lot of interest again. Stuff that's outside the box, because you can't really see a hippie band busting out a Charvel,
Yeah, well, except I guess Mayer.
Yeah, he does.
He broke that mold, but yeah, no, I agree. And there's a tradition that, a really alembic, Rick Turner, Doug Irwin started, and there's a few of us who are holding the torch.
How do you get started?
I was interested in music, obviously, guitars. I grew up in an old Italian household where there was revered instruments, Gibson. Old Gibsons, an old L4 mandolin, an L4 from like 1929 guitar that were, objects of beauty even when I was a little kid. And my grandfather tinkered, but when I went to art school, and sort of after art school you're like, what the fuck, And I had made I had bought a neck through blank and fucked around.
Yeah, some Eddie Van Halen old school shit.
Yeah, just fucking
you're getting the Mighty My Bodies.
That kind of shit. And so after art school, I started digging in on my own, and I made some gypsy jazz instruments, if you're familiar with Django. Do you know Django, Ryan?
Yep, oh yeah.
I feel like a Jehovah's Witness when I talk about Django. I'm like, have you accepted the work of Django in your heart,
Yeah.
But I started making those instruments, with a book in hand.
Yeah.
Plans. And they came out okay. I made a few.
Were you making shit in wood shop and stuff back in the day? Because my point is, I took wood shop, and there was always the guy in the corner who could fucking make shit.
I was the artist more. I
right.
was the guy in the art studio.
Could draw and stuff.
Yeah. So that was in sculpt. In college, I was a sculpture dude.
Yeah.
So that was really, but it was really, and it really, I think it starts for a lot of people. I didn't have the money to get an alembic or something. So, the first one I made was so Rick Turner inspired.
Yeah.
But then I went down this road with Django, and then I started listening to more jazz, getting into who I think are the greatest makers ever. John D'Angelico, Jimmy D'Acquisto.
Right.
Subsequently, John Monteleone, still living, one of the greatest makers ever, will always be. Bob Benedetto. Bob Benedetto's book, my first archtop guitar I made with his book in hand. That's what I had. And then I apprenticed with the guy who apprenticed with Doug Irwin.
Really? Where was that at?
This was in Cooperstown. I was living in Saratoga Springs. I'm from upstate New York.
Oh, wow. Oh, so that's...
Also, Joe Bonamassa? You tell Joe I was on your show and I'm from Ilion, New York.
Yeah.
He'll know what the fuck that means.
Okay.
But I apprenticed with this guy who worked for Doug. We made Garcia shit, man. And he was like, he worked for Doug a couple of years, I think, and turns out there's some drama.
Yeah, of course.
With that, Doug,
there's just drama in anything.
I went to work with this guy thinking he was tight with Doug. I've met Doug. Doug can't stand. So
yeah.
It's But I learned hopefully what Doug taught him and carried that through. But he's not doing hand cut shit. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. Where when you're the only reason you're doing the CNC inlay is to move production. You're not doing it for the guitar's sake, or
of course,
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's moving production through.
Yeah.
Same with the finishing. If you're using this catalyzed varnish, it's not to make the guitar better, it's to make production faster. So that stuff does not apply to me and my thought process.
Yeah.
Or what, how I'm going to make this thing. It's going to be, I'm going to make it the best way I can.
Early on, I don't know if you talked to Doug, but let's go through the guitars that people know. Of course, if you are a deadhead or a guitar freak, you would know that early on there's really, I would say, three that were famous. There was Wolf, there was Rosebud, there was Tiger. Then there was this one here that I saw recently that
Lightning Bolt.
Yeah. What is that one?
That was cool, man. Do you know this guy Steve Kripe? So he's another guy. This was a fan of Jerry's, and he was a cool. This is all hearsay. But
this one here.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
cool.
I saw that one.
That's cool. And that's allegedly made from an opium bed. The rosewood in the top and back is an opium bed this dude sourced.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool. But so this guy was a cabinet maker, I believe. He did paneling on boats. Also made fireworks around the 4th of July.
Yeah.
From Florida, this dude. So he makes Jerry the first guitar called, which wasn't stage used. And then this I could be wrong, and this is my recollection. So he makes him this guitar top hat, which is with a cool walrus tusk skeleton with a top hat.
This is after Irwin, right?
This is in the 90s, and Irwin went through some troubles and stuff, and I think this guy just showed up. He had a show, I think.
Yeah.
And so he gives Jerry this guitar, and Jerry was like, "Fuck, this is pretty sweet, but maybe this or that, maybe change this or that." So then that's why Bolt was made. But his crest on his, headstock was this exploding firecracker.
Right.
Which is pretty cool graphic, which I assume is from an old package. The old packaging on firecrackers are cool as shit.
Some of the firecracker art, I've talked about it for years. I think it's some of the best art. Thunder Bomb. When I was growing up in the Bay Area, they had Thunder Bomb, and it had a kind of a power line, or a power tower, those things that hold the can. And then at the top, it had an explosion. Black Cat was amazing.
Dude, I was thinking Black Cat. It's an iconic image, and we don't even think about it, but it's
right.
Some artist somewhere nailed it.
But if you dive deep into it, just Wikipedia or Google brick of firecrackers and look at all the different art.
Dude, I'm looking. I'm looking for this. Kripe image, because I think he took it. He at least was inspired by it.
Right.
So just for the history of it, this I think is from this fucking firecracker pack.
Yeah.
But my story, I digress. Dude blew himself up.
What?
He was making guitars for Jerry in the 90s that never got to Jerry. He literally was making fireworks and blew himself up.
Wow.
So it's just this crazy story. But it was the dude came here and did his thing, right?
How many did he? Was this lightning bolt the only one that Jerry ever got?
I believe so. He had a couple in the works. And talking about other guitars, my buddy Andy Logan owns Saturn, which was destined for Jerry.
Right.
It never got there, but he owns it. And he also has Alligator.
Yeah, Gator, that just sold again.
That's
the Strat.
A 55 Strat, customized by Rick and the fellas.
Well, it's funny if you look at Jerry's career, and I wanted to talk to John about it after Dead & Co. ended here a few months ago, was I kind of looked at John as he was approaching it in a cool, where most people aren't paying attention, but in a way that Jerry approached it. Every tour, kind of the amps and the guitars kind of changed, with Jerry going from early Fender Twins and all that, and the SGs, and he's playing different stuff at the time. Travis B, one of those. The
aluminum neck.
Yeah.
And everybody loves that Cornell show. It's on the Bean, man.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts kind of as a guitar maker. I'm like, Beans are cool.
Yeah.
But, I'm a Doug Irwin fan, so I'm like.
Right. Well, then it's wild to think about, like, Jerry is really kind of doing something before, Eddie Van Halen and all these people, where he was seeking out his own, guitar that he needed to do all kinds of stuff. Like Eddie, his thing was out with the fucking single coil, in with the humbucker. Let's try to get a better tremolo here. Eventually the Floyd Rose comes around and all that shit, locking nuts and stuff. But Jerry, if you look at it, he was going through that for his whole career, constantly looking for stuff, even if it was just to customize by a sticker or a paint job. It was just to let you know this isn't from Guitar Center,
Dude, and here I am making a career, basically. I mean, out of these, look, it's easy for Gibson and Fender to sell guitars. The heroes play them.
Right.
Who do we have in the custom world? We got Garcia.
Yeah.
And we got like Trey now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my guy Rick.
Yeah.
Dewis is playing my piece. But otherwise, guys, everybody's pulling the stuff off the shelf. I love it too, because I love Jimmy Page.
Oh yeah.
So how do I not love Les Pauls?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I love fucking Hendrix. How do I not have a Strat lying around?
Yeah.
And so, but that's an easy sell for those
right.
for those factories. So for the rest of us, Garcia, look, we're out here going, wow, I think Tiger is probably the greatest electric guitar ever made, man. I mean, we can discuss that, but it's just, the workmanship is like a one-off. It's like you're making this thing one time. I've made some of these things. The brass work is fucking insane.
Yeah. I was just looking at you.
Doug was laughing at me, man. Because I was like, I'm talking about the Doug. He's like, he made that because fuck you trying to do it again.
Yeah.
And there's a beauty in that, but also it's like that whole thing. You're from the Bay Area. In that era, like you had the Airplane, you have like Yorma. I mean, these guys are monsters, but it's all this like collective. And what is Jerry Garcia going to play other than Tiger? It's like a fucking wizard staff.
Yeah. And it's funny because Wolf gets a lot of love, because it's been passed around. That guy bought it, and then people always play it out at Red Rocks and stuff. But, there's an interesting thing about Tiger or Wolf. Now people are getting them because they're obsessed with the Dead, but it's a lot like the stripe paint job. It was like you couldn't just show up and start gigging with a Tiger. Even if you could get Irwin to make you one, you'd be like, why are you playing Jerry's guitar? It was so fucking distinctive.
Yes.
I wouldn't play a Strat with stripes, and I wouldn't play Randy Rhoads with polka dots at the time.
Yeah.
Now, when you do it, you go, hey, this is a nod to craftsmanship and the greats now. But I mean, back then, if you were like opening for the Dead, you're not going to come on with Tiger or a Wolf. It would be ridiculous.
And that's the beauty of, like, honestly, like, why the kind of sky is the limit here with what I'm doing, the custom, personalized thing. That plate doesn't need to be a Tiger. It's your thing or whatever. Like this one, the blonde thing I showed you today.
Of course.
Like, we're going to move forward or sideways on the whole thing, but we're going to keep the core thing. About the Obel, like that certain structures within this, it's just part of the thing. We've got the Obel and the buffer to change the impedance so everything moves through the cable like a hot dog down a hallway.
Yeah.
It's like the vibe of that. So you can retain your highs are very clean, long cable runs.
Well, let's get into that a little bit too, because I don't know if you talked to Doug Irwin, but were you able to take like laser schematics, or how were you able to, or are you going off just photos and, for size and all of that?
So I was at the Met when they had.
Yeah, I went to that. That's where these photos are from.
Insane.
It was great. I had a question.
Hendrix's Woodstock.
Yeah.
Strat, dude. I was like,
I questioned the Jimmy Page one, and I even asked Tom Murphy when I interviewed, or who did I? Oh no, Cesar at Gibson. I don't think that was Jimmy's number one. I think that was a replica because I can tell by the flame pattern.
Dude, I'll look. I didn't notice that, but
yeah.
You would be able to tell. There's no way you can.
Yeah.
You can't fuck with the wood. I mean, it's.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Unless it's,
Right. But there it was. So go ahead. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. So you went in there and you were looking at Jerry's.
Wolf and Tiger were there, and I was able to take as many photos as I wanted.
Right.
And so then I scaled those, and I made all my templates for my, from.
How do you scale them? You take a picture.
I use the known dimensions. And then scale it based on that. Like the single coil poles are a known dimension I have, and others, and then I scale everything, and then. After all that, I make a template like a tattoo. You got tattoos. It's like a tattoo stencil. That's how I cut it out. I glue that to the pearl or the mammoth ivory, which I've been using for the wolves. And then I cut it out with a jeweler's saw. So it's like, yes, they're very accurate, but they're also very handmade.
Of course.
And so, but that's where I started with scaling the original instruments.
Yeah, I don't really think it is kind of nerdy and insane when they do like full, laser or digital scans of, say, Jimmy Page's guitar or whatever, and then you get the exact one. I mean, I think some of the, like you said, some of the amazing things about custom guitars is each one is totally different. Same with Japanese denim or Japanese leather jackets or boots. You just look at painting. You just look at it and just go like, oh yeah, this is exact but a little bit different, and but when you busted out this guitar, it was just so fucking great. The craftsmanship is insane. Now, you talk to Doug. How long do you talk to him for, and how are you able to find the wiring and all of the crazy schematics for his guitar? Because Jerry's guitar has like 1 million switches, and it does all kinds of shit. It has stereo inputs, everything. Let's get into that.
Well, that stuff's, the work's been done. Of
course.
But the guy, John Cutler, designed this buffer, which, like I said, that's an impedance shifting device, but it does have a certain sound, this sort of sparkle to it. That's to help with the what you're talking about, the two jacks, one being a stereo jack that you go from a stereo at the guitar to mono Ys, that is basically the send and return for your effects loop.
Right.
And then you got a switch on your guitar, which you can go to the effects or just go straight clean, which is running straight to the amp. You know what I mean? You're just like, it's super clean. When you're not running the effects, it's straight to the amp. And the other cool thing about that for Jerry, especially with like the Mutron, works well with certain drives. The effect is reading your pickup at full volume. It's pre-volume, so everything's hitting the effects at full clip.
Oh yeah.
So with that envelope, you need to actuate that thing, and if you don't have enough meat coming through, it just doesn't open it. So that works great in that way, but the buffer, it retains the highs almost like a treble bleed. So you turn down the volume, you still have it retains the highs. It's a beautiful setup.
Well, the one you brought over was Flame Maple, but Jerry's was at Coca-Cola or whatever, and I believe that guitar weighed 18 fucking pounds.
I've heard 13. I've never held it, but it definitely fucking heavy, man. All the brass work and the Coca-Cola and the maple.
Yeah. And then I heard that his action was atrocious. It was like fucking a quarter inch off the fucking neck.
The specs I saw were fucking gross.
Yeah, and then like he plays like, I don't know, 15th or something,
The only thing is, we don't know. Like what we've seen is like it's well after he he passed.
Right.
So I'm not sure. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know he had a lot of relief, but sometimes I saw those measurements and I'm like, man, he plays so in tune. I mean, he's Jerry.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like, God, it's so hard to play in tune when it's like a bow and arrow, man.
Yeah. And also, he just never cleaned it, I heard. So it was just crust on there all the time, which is wild, too.
What I've found, it's funny, but certain people have different acidity.
Oh, yeah,
in
of
their
course.
skin.
Yeah.
And so the gold plating on those bridges, especially the ones, I got to start making my own. But, God, some people just will eat through them so fast.
Yeah, I think it was like Kimmock. I've known Kimmock for years, but I think it was him. I'm almost pretty sure that he has like acid sweat or whatever where the strings break.
Wow, dude.
You know, I can't remember if it was him or somebody else.
So his talk about fucking player, man. Jesus.
Yeah, well, that guy's a crazy player. You know,
monster, just monster tone, man. That's his strat with those.
Yeah, I'm a heavy. I think that John Mayer did an unbelievable job, and when he got that gig, I was just kind of like, what? Because, you know, I went to the Fare Thee Well, and I thought, well, this is, you know, Trey will just continue on with these guys. He's been, you know, in the world forever. And when I heard John was going to do it, I was like, oh, man, what? And now I can't get enough of
I was stoked when I heard it.
I can't even tell you how much I love it, man. And I listened to it like a lot, you know, and I've seen it a lot over the years. I went to a ton of shows, and his tone and his way of approaching it, of just constantly tweaking to get the perfect guitar. Like the first one he had, you know, I had heard that John was doing the gig before anybody knew, because somebody leaked it to me at Paul Reed Smith. They said, we're building this for John. He's doing a tour with the Dead. And I'm like, no way. And they sent me over pictures of that first guitar. And I was like, that's not real. And sure enough, it was.
Crazy.
And over his time, how he was tweaking those early Paul Reed Smiths that he had, from F-holes to no F-holes, from tremolo to no tremolo, you know, to what he's playing now, which is the Silver Skies, you know. And the recent one, the Dead Specs one with the Alembic booster and everything, it was amazing to hear how his take on that, by getting it with just maybe one or two switches, but really nailing the tone of the Mutron or an Ottawa or whatever anybody's going to use, a Dumble or the Paul Reed Smith. He was going all through amps also, you know, to nail it. And at times, it was fucking almost exact.
Dude, he sounds great. I mean, he sounds fucking amazing.
He's amazing.
Whatever he's running.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's like kind of like what you were saying. Jerry has so many eras.
Yeah.
That he could, and he did. First couple tours, he picked up a SG.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Why the fuck not?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And the material they're doing is diverse too. It's not like they're doing only 80 shit. They're doing stuff from the whole catalog.
Right.
So it's like, why the hell not?
Yeah, because early Jerry, zero Ottawa or
Nothing- no, it was very
Mutron,
clean.
you know.
And, I mean, God, even talk about the Wolf. I mean, like that Wall of Sounder is just super clean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
so awesomely
Yeah.
clean, like pedal steel clean, gorgeous stuff.
He played the Wolf at Giant Stadium out there, or sorry, Mets,
Yes.
where the Mets play,
Yes.
whatever that's called, in New York. He walked out with it, and I asked him about it, and he said it was great. And he was like, "Oh wow!" At first he thought, "I want to buy this," but then he's like, "I don't want to own this," you know. But he said one of the pickups didn't work,
Right.
and they didn't mess with it because that's how it was. That's how it left. Yeah, yeah. So that's pretty wild.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he was really respectful of that.
Yeah.
Which I thought was
Great.
pretty cool. I mean,
Absolutely.
You know, he was like, because I think they wanted him to play Tiger even before that, and he was like, I don't know, it was like heavy.
Yeah.
You know, it was like a burden, and
Yeah.
I get it. I totally got it, and I was like, that was like so respectful, dude. And if anybody gave some shit,
Yeah.
it's like, you know, fuck. That was all I needed right there.
Now, let's get into. We're talking about, I would call them quote unquote hippie guitars, because now Trey comes along in the, I don't know, 90s or 80s, whenever he comes along, and he comes out with this guitar that he's playing.
Yeah.
And he's been basically playing that guitar forever. Now, I don't know anything about that guitar because I'm not a big Fish guy. I love Trey's playing when he was with Fare Thee Well. I would have liked to see if he would have played, a little more. He was pretty respectful and laid back.
He was on a short leash, too.
Yeah, he was on a short leash, but I would love to have seen him a year in what he would, because he would have just busted it loose. But fill me in on who made his guitar, and you're also doing that shape also.
Yeah, I'm doing like my inspired.
Right,
version
right.
of that.
Now,
So
who did
that's
that?
Paul Languedoc.
Who is it?
Paul Languedoc.
Okay.
Who is he was on tour with Fish as their sound guy
Wow.
for a number of years, and was also like the tech. He's sort of core to the Fish family. But his guitars are they're fully hollow, like mini arch tops, which is kind of like totally the opposite.
Like a 330? Like no, not a 330.
No block. It's like if you took it's like more like if you took an L5,
Right.
and you shrunk it way the hell down to 13 inches wide, and
how's he avoiding the feedback?
you're not.
Oh.
You're riding the feedback, which is just, I feel like it's still uncharted territory.
Right.
Because he's doing it. Now my guy Rick is doing it
Yeah.
on the piece that I built for him, which is in the same construction, it's the same idea. And, but yeah, you're harnessing that feedback and with the modeling amps, this interface will not work with the modeling. It's all about the whole, it's about interacting with the speaker, and it's amazing, because you're stretching notes with feedback, man. This is a real extension of like what Jimmy was doing. God knows what he would have done, but feedback it's out there, and being able to harness it, it's like riding a wave, because it's not you can't control. It's just like riding a wave, because you can't really control it,
Right.
But if Trey, I went on tour with Fish, man. I was into Fish, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I went on a couple of full summers, like when I was in college, and I've seen Trey play millions of notes, literally. But he uses it to great effect, and he always using real tubes to actuate all that. And
What's his amp?
he was using Mesas for years. Now he's got a train wreck.
Oh, really? Train
Yeah.
wreck. Wow.
But
Interesting.
He's just going full tube. All the drive is full tube, and it's just really, what that sounds like.
Yeah.
You can fuck around and say you can model it, and you can for your ears. But that's what I'm saying. The actual interplay between the amp and the guitar and the speaker, you can't fake it, because there's no, There's no connection other than the air around it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Unless it's a beautiful thing. I think it's the new frontier that Trey started for a long time, but it's not been done that often, because we go back to what we were talking about before with automation, things like making hand-tuned small body. It's hard to do in a production setting.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible. The only person I can think of right now making really nice archtop instruments in a production setting is Benedetto Guitars in Savannah, Georgia.
Right.
But they're a small group of skilled craftsmen. It's not like dudes on Friday getting all shitty. They're like dudes who are into making guitars.
What about Collins? They're making some.
They're
aren't
making
they?
guitars, but they do some archtop stuff. But those dudes, and God bless them, dude, but diabolical. Same with the PRS. I'm not crapping on this shit. They make beautiful instruments.
Of course.
But they're production. So when you make production,
Well, it's just a different thing. Yeah.
and you have to think about it in a different way, right?
Yeah.
You have to.
I don't ever think about a custom compared to a production guitar, but if you want to get like, to me, the dream guitar would be to have the yellow Santana. The first run, those Santana yellows,
and they're
man.
basically, they're
handmade boutique guitars.
And that's the thing with Collings. They are so automated in such an amazing way that it's like, wow, dude. Like, they're cutting the F holes, dude, after the guitars are done.
Yeah.
So it's like the guitar's finished and buffed, and then you're cutting the F hole with a laser. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa. I mean, it's beautiful, but it's not what I'm doing. I'm out here,
of course,
getting my hands dirty. And that's a tradition that goes back to fucking the ancient times, someone making an instrument and fixing it up.
How were you able to do the Trey guitars? Were you able to get your hands on that, or?
I've played some, and then same thing, scaling them, and then taking my own approach, because they are they're tuned structures. They're like, I'm tuning the top and the back.
Yeah.
And I just made like a sort of a frequency generator to play with the tops and how, really how they function, because the violin family, all that data has been worked on, because the dimensions never really change. Like a violin, it's the same size. So they tune the top, they've analyzed the tops. This is new shapes, new instruments, so no one's done that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, like, even if it's just for data's sake, but moving the ball forward just a little tiny bit, But
I'm seeing a lot of the dead cover bands. They're buying these guitars. They're having people make like a wolf or a tiger or whatever. Or does the Trey guitar have a name?
His is a G4, it's a Languedoc G4.
I know, but he never named it or anything.
Well, he has several. Like, they have, some of them have inlays that are cool, and he has one called Ocelot that's like the most gorgeous Koa set, and it has this ocelot on the headstock.
Yeah,
that's gorgeous stuff. There's one Marmar has his old dog from back in the day on it, and but yeah, those are. Time goes by, it's like more people are gonna make them, just like me. Next gen, I'm in my 40s. There's some kid now who's gonna be making this shit in 20 years and 30 years, and so I find that exciting and charming. And like I said, it really started with Garcia and Trey. It starts with the player, man, because everyone wants to do what's already been done, because all the greats played the shit that was available, which was the big core Fender, Gibson, Gretsch. You got Setzer guys still, and you've got Angus Young guys,
Jackson
Malcolm
guys.
Young guy. You got Malcolm Young on the Gretsch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like everybody's got this, and I do the same thing, man. I did the same fucking thing. But I just happen to like fucking Jerry, so I'm like, well, I can't even fucking buy that shit. So I got to learn how to make this shit.
At what point do you get into the Dead and Fish and stuff? Because I grew up in the Bay Area, and I hated them because it was just an overload. And then I realized later that I didn't hate them. I just hated the fans, because the fans that I was around all the time, they're just, I was working a job, 6 days a week, and they'd be like, dude, I need a miracle, dude. And I'd be like, get a fucking job, and it was the case. I always say, like, I don't hate the Raiders, I hate the fans, it's like, that was what was bumming me out. And then later in life, I realized that those really weren't the real fans. They were just people that were just getting high, falling around to get high. And the real fans were way into the music, and that's the people that I really like, know. But at what point do you get into it? Upstate New York, of course, is a big Dead area also.
Yeah, I feel like it was part of, like, my mom had a pretty fucking good record collection.
Yeah.
Like, I had Fillmore Almonds, Fillmore East. Like, one side was Whipping Post.
Yeah, the best.
And so, like, I was just like, that was like just real shit to me. And so we had, I grew up with the record player. So I listened to Grateful Dead, I listened to Allman Brothers a lot. And then I got into, I was probably 13 when Nirvana, when Kurt Cobain comes out. So I got into that thing. That was probably more like, honestly, playing music. I was like, because you could do it. It's like you could grab the guitar and kind of get there a little bit, And then I sort of backed into, getting into when I was in, 95. Everyone where I was from went to Highgate 95. Jerry died that summer.
Right.
And so after that, that's talk about Fish. I was like, it was almost like seeing what that was and being like, whoa, holy fuck. Because that's for me. I got hit by lightning. Like, same thing with Fish. The Fish, even the lot, it was fun, man. I was 16, 17, and it was just like fucking crazy, And talk about upstate New York, it's, pretty sheltered kind of, So it was like fucking wild maniacs out here, And for me, it was the music too. I was a guitar player, and Trey was nasty on the guitar, so it was like, to me, it was just like, I would never give it back, man. You know what I mean? All those, I could, you know what I mean? It really, really good stuff, and it was at sort of what would be considered pretty peak Trey, man, just shredding.
I just, I could not do Fish. When they did the albums like Dark Side of the Moon, or I saw them, I believe, at the Shoreline, they did, I think they did some Exile, Exile on
right.
Main
Yeah.
Street. But then I was blown away. But man, they played on some show I was at, and they were on trampolines, and I was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
They were jumping on
Part of that though, dude, which is straight, I have so much respect for.
Yeah.
Is they're really like putting on a show. It's almost like vaudeville.
I get it. I
Like,
get it.
You know what I'm saying though? But
Right.
and they make it hard for themselves constantly. Like their early like compositions are just like so hard.
Yeah.
Like you're playing a part that's hard
like
to
Zappa
sing
shit.
over. Dude, I love
Yeah.
my my Spotify rap was fucking Zappa.
Yeah.
My biggest artist this year is Zappa. And probably every year.
Yeah.
Because plus he has so much fucking music. But it's that and Zappa was making it hard on his band.
Yeah.
But these dudes are making it hard on themselves, and shit, man, they have pieces like the middle section of like Reba or something. You got to be fucking on it, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that
Bass
just
player was
straight
always
respect.
killer to me. I was like, wow, that guy's fucking nuts.
They're all great, and it's kind of like that thing I was talking about with Doug rising to the occasion with the guitar. Trey's obviously just outrageous, and everybody else is just like, and here I am. I'll fucking rise right to it. And the same thing with the freaking Grateful Dead, man. It's like you got Jerry Garcia and Robert Hunter writing music, and you'd be like, well, that's that. You guys are the Dukes. And then fucking Bob Weir comes along.
I know.
And is like, hey, how about Looks Like Rain? You ever heard of that one?
Yeah.
And
how about the other one?
And then Phil's like, hey, you ever heard of A Box of Rain?
Yeah,
Or what?
Yeah.
Or Unbroken Chain, dude. It's like, so everybody just rises to the occasion, and that's why they're so amazing. Everybody in the band, and then segue perfectly into my new faves, which is Goose, man. They also have a range. Start with the guitar player because he's just so great. He's just such a great player. But it's the same thing. It's like an ensemble, and everybody kind of shows up, man.
Right.
And that's what makes it an awesome band and an awesome improv band. Because everybody shows up.
Yeah. I mean, like my rule, and this is my rule, you got to have great songs before you jam.
Right.
And I just had Warren Haynes on the show a couple of days ago. There's just too much out there, jam, no song. Now, look, I'm cool with a jam, but I need some songs. And the Dead and the Allman Brothers have some of the greatest songs of the last 40, 50 years,
Yeah.
I just wrote a dream set list out for Dead & Co. because I caught some rumors that they're going to play again, Yes. And it's pretty strong. So I was like, here's my dream set. Also, my...
What's on that?
Huh?
What's on that? Couple of...
Oh, here,
got it?
I think I got it right here. See, I can't go any Dead. I don't like when the Dead plays covers, other than Morning Dew. I don't like when they do Dancing in the Streets. I don't like when they do, any kind of 50s rock and roll,
Right.
So this is not in order, but these, to me, is the Dead in all different eras and just flavors. Estimated Profit. I think it's one of the greatest songs ever. Terrapin Station. That's my favorite Dead song of all time. He's Gone, Fire on the Mountain, Deal, Morning Dew, which is a cover. It's the only cover I need. Bird Song, China Cat, Sunflower, West LA Fadeaway, Touch of Grey, Dark Star, New Speedway Boogie, the other one, Wharf Rat, Truckin', Shakedown Street, Feel Like a Stranger, Help Slip Frank.
Dude, I was going to say, if you didn't have Help Slip Frank, I would have said
No.
that. You got, I think,
No,
I don't think I know one fucking Deadhead who wouldn't be like, that's a fucking solid piece.
That's set list to me. And what you're going to get, I was talking to Warren about this, was if they just played those without jamming, it would be mind-boggling.
Right.
Because of the songs.
Right.
So, I grew up around the Horde. I was at many of those shows. I love the Black Crowes once they get into their kind of Allman Brothers phase. Say from Wiser Time, which is on Amorica, up through Three Snakes, where and a little bit of kind of Stones jamming on the Southern Harmony, kind of a Can't You Hear Me Knockin' style jamming. But I was going to the Horde, and really, what turned me on to everything was the Mother Hips. And they were really just another level to me. And the Mother Hips and the Allman Brothers in, say, 89, 90, 92, right around there, was just a knockout to me. And like I said, it came with the songs first. So I need that.
Yeah, no, Mother Hips, yeah, it's like solid songs. And then, but then a good section.
And outside the box songs.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for hit songs, people that might DM me later like, oh, sorry, they don't have a top 10 hit. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Wilco has some of the best catalog I've ever heard. I'm talking about Neil Young level of songwriting where, Neil, when he's doing Down by the River, he could do it for 18, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's going to take you somewhere. But at the end of the day, we're listening to Down by the River or Cowgirls in the Sand, So, yeah, I'm real reluctant on a lot of the jam scene because I get it. And I'm not knocking it. A lot of people want to go there and party and just, take some, mushrooms or acid and just get into it. That's all cool. But to me, I got to have some music.
Yes. No,
Now,
I mean, I want, that's what I'm seeing about even Fish, or Goose. But I'm there because I'm a guitar player.
Right.
And so,
Right.
so for me, that's all I need. And I know what you're saying, like, but and then again, like the songs, it's such a big catalog now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Fish, I like the early stuff. I think that people get caught up on those, like, Bag It, Tag It, Sell It to the Bishop. But then again, that's the kind of song that you get through that part, and then it goes on this orchestrated musical journey.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I'm there for that. But not to knock the song. I'm not saying I don't like their songs, but I'm just saying, like, I get what you're saying. It's not like a, standard song structure.
Or Terrapin Station is one of the most insane, weird, structured songs ever. First time I heard him play it, I was like, how are they even remembering any of this? And, holy shit, it's just, like I said, it's not a hit song. It's like a crushing Van Gogh painting. When you're looking at it, you're just going like, what is going on here?
It's awesome. It's an awesome story too. And that's the thing with, obviously Hunter Garcia.
Insane.
Yeah, and you feel like that stuff. It's like a lot of it. It came from the ether.
Yeah.
So much. So it's like, you hear about Bob Dylan talking about his songwriting. He's like, it's just.
Oh yeah.
Like
on 60 Minutes when he's like, I don't know where that shit came from.
But
it's true though.
That's true. That's what it just.
I wrote songs. I couldn't tell you where they come from. I write jokes. I tell this story many times on the podcast. I was talking to somebody and I go, God, I don't even know where this joke came from. It was like it just came out of nowhere. And he said, don't they all? And he was so right.
Yeah, man.
They just come out. You have to constantly be ready. You are the, you're walking around and somehow the source goes into you and you go, oh, I got an idea for a joke here,
Yeah, man.
Or a song or a lyric or anything.
It's the voice of God, man, for all we know.
Art gods.
For all, whatever they are.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. The
Yeah.
voice of the universe. It's something, right? And we know and I think that anybody that's felt that can, we not be able to articulate, but we feel that,
Now, let's get into how many guitars have you made and what is the wait list and what is the process of buying a guitar from you?
So, well,
is it just you?
It's just me. It's just
Okay.
me. My wife helps.
Yeah.
It's just my wife and 2 kids.
And before you get into it, I want to let people know the craftsmanship on this guitar is so fucking mind-boggling. All the inlay is done by hand. He does all the inlay. You've got all this fucking, craftsmanship on the shaping of the body and then the brass pieces. But the inlay is what takes forever, man. So, okay, get into it.
So I have a general catalog list of models that are a starting point. But having said that, then woods, colors,
right?
That's all an option. And then inlay, I'm an illustrator, so like we were saying before, like it doesn't have to be tiger. It can be something that
Right, I'm looking through your thing right
Yeah,
now. People got
that's
this Egyptian one is sick.
Yeah, right,
King
right.
Tut stuff.
Right. So like thematic stuff is kind of a specialty because it's all done by hand and it's a one-off kind of situation. So really nailing down like the model is the first part.
Right.
But usually there is a thematic thing. I'm doing like right now I have quite a few dogs. Like, you love your dog. I love doing these inlays because they have such character.
Yeah.
And they'll send me a pic of like a dog that's literally got a smile on his face. You know what I mean? And then I get to turn it into, like I was saying, it's basically like a digitized tattoo stencil.
Right.
Then I apply that to the pearl or whatever it might be. But so that's the first part. I'm like a year and a half out, 2 years out.
Shit. And how many guitars would that be in the queue right now? I'm just curious. Do you do them every, like one in a month or 2 months?
Yeah, well, it's like I do batches, so I'm usually working on 20 guitars right now.
Whoa!
But in different stages. Some are just neck blanks and bodies, joined, and and then I'll go through and do 5 necks in a row, and I'll do all the truss rod slotting, and if I'm doing carbon slots, I'll do all the fingerboards. I'll bind all the fingerboards, inlay 5 fingerboards, and I do it kind of like that, and then put it all together like a puzzle.
And how much are they? Let's say
it starts. I mean, I have the guitar that you were talking about, which is like
that you have here.
No, the one that you said,
the pink one.
The pink. It's basically a Strat. That's like my starting guitar. It's a Strat with a Garcia tiger-y shape.
Right, it is. Yeah.
Bodhisattva.
Right.
And it's named so because Ram Dass called Jerry a bodhisattva, and Jerry was like, "Nah, I'm just a guy trying to write notes." But so it's called the bodhisattva. But that's 5,500.
Right.
It's like a custom Strat.
Right. Yeah.
And it comes in all those colors, the automotive colors with the varying layers of relicing and all that. And
ooh.
Yeah, there's one's pup, right?
Now, do you do the relicing yourself?
Yeah.
Now, I had one of the first
spraying nitro. It's nitro.
Yeah. So I had one of the first Tom Murphys, and I remember, everybody was trying to keep a secret on how it was done. But basically, from what I saw, was you spray the nitro, then you freeze it, then you hit it with heat, and it just kind of starts streaking across.
Yeah, you spray it with compressed air.
And then he was using a razor blade kind of for the headstock, just to kind of cut into it and give it. So you just freeze it in a freezer.
What I do is I hit it with a heat gun.
Yeah.
And then freeze it. And it cracks, and you can kind of control it a little bit, but it does its thing.
Yeah. Oh wait, you hit it with the heat first?
Hit it with the heat first,
and then
shrink it.
Oh wow! I thought it was the opposite. Because when you have
it
weather,
would work this other way, I assume. I mean, you're just stretching. You're just
when you have weather check guitars, so they're always like, you flew from L.A. to say New York, and then the guitar is cold, and you open it up from the case, and then the heat hits, and it goes. I've heard stories where guys just watched it check right in front of their eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that extreme.
Yeah.
And so when I'm doing it, I'm heating it up and making it kind of viscous, and then shutting it down, and it just it fails. So that's why it looks great.
Now, what about a full tiger like you got sitting over here?
Well, this is also like not my top model. This is like my kind of entry tiger.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, because it's not Cocobolo. It doesn't have brass around the body. It doesn't have, the original Tiger has this big Art Deco medallion on the back.
So this is the top of the line, right?
That is the top of the line.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a full-on one-to-one. I mean, dude, I don't think anybody's doing it anymore, like hand inlaying it and all that.
Right. Oh, and you did the Garcia there?
Yeah.
A replica. Wow. Yeah. So what would that cost?
That's $16K.
$16K.
Yeah.
Man, that's worth it though.
I mean, people are charging almost double that, dude. And I'm not going to talk about any other people, but it's weird, man. And I think that, like, how, like, I don't know.
Olympic sells this now, right?
Olympic does their thing, which is...
It's called Tribute?
Called a Tribute. Right. But that's not even... I don't even think... that's 20-ish, 25. But
right.
Olympic, dude, to me, they're the OG. So I got no shade for Olympic.
Of course.
I think they're the fucking bomb. And I think they still have guys... Talk about guys doing hand inlay. I think they still have guys hand inlaying up there.
Wow. This thing is beautiful.
Thank you, man.
Okay. Now... me being a Randy Rhoads freak, let's get into this. Now, you've got all the
so fun, dude.
You got all the hippie guitars, but then you got a Sandoval like tribute you did.
Dude just asked me for it, and I was just like, what the fuck? You know, I never made one, but I'll dig into it.
Yeah.
And you know, I was familiar with it, obviously.
Of course.
But then, like, I see that headstock. I like what I did. I put a little truss rod cover and then kept the dot.
I see that, yeah.
But you know what? I did little tricks like that. But, you know, obviously, Randy was a freaking shooting star, you know. And it's such odd, like, the dimensions of that kind of reminds me of the Wolf. Like, it's so long.
It's so
Randy
long.
was so small. It was like, it's freaking gigantic.
I know. And, you know, I talked to Rudy Sarzo. He's a friend of mine. He said the headstock was broke like 3 times because it's just so long.
Right.
Like you bump it into something, snap.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I won't be doing another one of those, but it was so fun. And I did it, like, the original, I don't even know if Sandoval knows, but the original were Dan Electro necks, which are poplar.
Right.
Which is weird, but it's a very soft wood. It was a cheap neck. And But he had the aluminum beams in it, and they work. But so he's doing, everybody does them with a maple neck. And I'm like, why would you? It's like you're not thinking about how it was made. Like, and I wouldn't make it a poplar, but I did a whole all mahogany because it just made more sense. Like, to make it more authentic.
Right. Yeah, these Trey guitars are a trip, man. Is the what's the bridge? Just wood?
That one's my Empress model. That's the guitar I made for the guy from Goose. It's got a Goto like tunematic.
Oh wow!
But that's pinned, like, that's not a floating bridge. It's threaded into the top.
And then is the tailpiece also wood?
It's wood with a brass sub
underneath there, hidden. Got it.
Structure.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I mean, it's amazing your guitars are blowing me away, man. Because how long you been doing it?
I mean, I've been doing it since I made my, like, talk about those Django guitars.
Yeah.
2005.
Yeah, but I mean, this is some serious craftsmanship here, dude.
Thanks,
it's just fucking. I mean, it's up there with Banker. He's a great friend of mine, Matt Banker.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, yeah.
And he does the exact kind of Carina V.
Love it.
And he does it how Gibson did it, and now they don't do it the same way. You know,
it's so important how it's made.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that as an artist. But this guy, Johnny Ive, who's the lead designer at Apple, used to be when Steve was there. I think he's probably still there.
Yeah.
I don't even know. But he was talking about the original iPods.
Yeah.
He polished the interior with the idea that people would perceive the care. Like, just the consumer would just be like, I don't know why, but I love this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's worked, obviously.
Yeah.
And so that's someone who's like, it's not how I think, but it's like, that's what I think when I'm making my guitars. Like, the interior should be tight, not because you're going to see it, because it's how it should be.
Yeah.
And it goes with the materials, it goes with the process. It's what it should be.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if you're an intuitive player, like, you pick it up and you feel that, and you might not be able to articulate it, but maybe you could feel that, and that will inspire you. Same thing with your buddy John, man. Tell your buddy John, I'll make him a guitar, whether he can give me as much or little information as he wants to. And all I ask of him is you plug that fucking thing in.
Yeah.
And you tell me what you think. You know what I mean? Because I believe that because I believe in the process and I believe in the spirit of it.
Right.
And what the fuck am I doing it for if I don't believe that? So, but that's all I would want. Give me an audience, you know, and either you're a believer or you're not at that point, but.
What are the pickups, whatever the customer chooses, right? These look like DiMarzios?
I mean, I'm pretty bound with the Garcia stuff. It's like DiMarzio Super 2.
Yeah.
Or, or Dual Sounds and SDS1. The buffer, the same thing. I'm now making my own buffers.
Right.
It's a simple little device, you know, a couple.
Can you tell me what this plate was? Was it just around the pickups just to hold the pickups? Is it all like a big cutout spot underneath there, or is it pickup holes?
Well, yeah, there's regular cavities beneath, and then that is actually set into the top just a little bit.
Right.
And then where the overhang is, there's a little brass filler. Yeah, that's all it's all handmade.
Yeah. This shit is excellent, man. Well, I can't thank you enough for doing the podcast. I had to have you on because I just love a guy who took a shot with a pink tiger. And then I saw the Randy Rhoads V, and I was like, oh, this guy's great. And I didn't even know you were in the area. And then I found out you were, and I was like, I got to have him on right away, you know?
Dude, I appreciate you having me. I mean, I saw they had Warren, I was like, Jesus.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not worthy, but yeah.
Well, you are, man, because your craftsmanship is just another level, and I absolutely love it. Tell everybody where to find you. I'll tell them on Instagram. It's DELUIS Guitars. Okay, DELUIS Guitars, and tell them your website. Oh, here it is. Same thing.
Yeah, DeLuisGuitars.com. Yeah.
Give Greg a call or message him and order yourself one of these guitars, because there is not a lot of people that are going to be doing this, in the future, because this just, it's like a Jesse James chopper. People go, oh, fucking, that's so much money. It's like, you don't even know how many hours of human time is put into these, but this is just, this is just a work of art. Look at that back piece. What is that, Tree of Life?
Yeah, that's the OG.
That's what he had on the back.
Yeah.
Wow. And, yeah, man. Thank you for doing the show, and
Thank you, man.
I love your work. This is just knocking me the fuck out. But one last thing: where are you getting the wood? Where do you source it? You find it?
Yeah, different places.
People have good wood still.
Dude, I got to tell you this story really quick, because it's concerning wood, and it's a rare resource.
Of course.
And then also people hoard this shit.
I know, they do, man.
In such a weird way. Oh God, it drives me crazy. But I was on the search for maples for the archtop instruments. And so I was like, I'm going to go to Europe, like looking for Italian, alpine spruces.
You flew to Europe?
No, just an online search. Just a quick search, like looking around, looking for new purveyors and shit. So I saw this Carpathian mountain tone woods, which I don't know if you're into like horror and shit, but I love Bram Stoker's Dracula. I was like obsessed with the book.
Right.
So I was like, oh, Carpathian Mountain's fucking cool, right? So then I'm like zooming in. It's Transylvania. It's Brazov, Transylvania, and it's all this cello and double bass sets of maple, fiddleback, beautiful, and European maple. It's like, it's just got its own vibe. And actually the back of the head plate of that guitar is that, and I'll show you, because you can see what I'm talking about. But so anyway, I'm zooming in. I'm like, oh, this is like fucking Dracula's wood. It's just cool as shit, and I'm into it. So my guy from Goose, I'm making him a second guitar, and we've been talking, and so I was just like, I kind of told him the story. I was like, looking for wood. I'm into Dracula. So he sends back a pic of his hand holding a Dracula first edition.
Yeah.
So he's into fucking Dracula too. So I'm working on a piece for him right now called Dracul. Like, it's made of this Carpathian tone woods. It's kind of like got this cello vibe, but it's totally new and fresh, and I'm like stoked about it. But talk about wood, it was like a godsend, man. And then it came super fast. Like, it came from Romania.
Wow.
And it was like, what the fuck? It came DHL. It was like in 4 days. I was like, what the fuck? And it shows up, and this dude's like crazy Transylvanian script was like this note, and it was just like, whoa, getting chills and shit. And then I started milling it, and it's just gorgeous. And so, but that talk about wood, man.
And where are you at? You got a shop at your house? Is
it's
that
a garage, man.
Yeah.
I take you now to a garage in Canoga Park, man.
Yeah.
Literally, like, I'm like West Hills Canoga Park, but I think about that all the time. Like, as a Joe's Garage fan, I'm like, I literally work out of Joe's Garage.
That's great. I'm such a wood freak because of, mid-century furniture, and then, of course, Les Paul's flame tops, 58, 59, 60, and then Brazilian fretboards.
Yeah.
You just learn about woods when you're young, and what they do for different tones, and also how they make you feel personally in your mind. If you're in a mid-century house with wood, beautiful wood walls and glass and everything, you're a totally different human than if you're around, just garbage sheetrock and fluorescent lighting.
Yeah. It's like the same with the Redwood Lodge type thing.
Oh my God. I love that. Log cabins, Redwood lodges,
No, it's like a rare and beautiful resource. And every time I get a wood order, I'm like, oh, this is great, like Christmas.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing the show, man.
Appreciate you so much, man.
All right.
Love the spot, man. It's
Yeah,
great.
thanks, dude. Good talking to you. All right.
Anyway.
All right, there you guys go, man. Another episode of Let There Be Talk. Do yourself a favor and check out all his guitars. Tell him I sent you. See ya.